Hello YouTube, Jim at Tech11, down in the dungeon in the basement. Very cold outside. Very cold. Winter in the southern Arctic. Not quite, but close. Anyway, that's the furnace you hear in the background. That's how cold it is, the furnace on. Yeah, today I wanted to talk about, I'm just doing a memory test here. That's what you're looking at on the screen. Just a budget build for a young guy, his first computer. So it's a 9700K, 16 gig RAM, GTX 1660 Super. 1660, not a Super, 1660. Yeah, 16 gig RAM, Windows 11 Pro. And I'm just testing the RAM right now. One thing, I wish AMD had the latency that Intel has, the memory controller. Such a good memory controller. Latency is what, 55 nanoseconds on the latency? I don't know if you can see that. Not sure that I can zoom with my iPad, but that's where we're at. So today, I'll grab my other iPad, of which I have 3 now, because I have all my Tech 11 stuff on my main one, and they all clone each other. So they all they're exact clones of each other, except the new one is 128 gig, and the others are not. I think I have one that's 64, and the first one might be 16, maybe more than that, maybe 32. I can't remember. I'm just gonna bring up my other one here. So, yeah. So I asked AI. I think it's time for me to put my 2 cents in on the RAM debacle, whatever we would call it. Ridiculousness. But now it's RAM, it's SSDs, it's NVMe's, it's graphics cards. It's so much now. Thank God I had a lot of inventory of RAM. People always said, my friends were telling me, why you have so much RAM? I said, I don't know. I just keep buying it. And thank God, because I got all this RAM pretty cheap. Because I bought it months ago. Same with graphics cards. I probably have, I don't know, 20 graphics cards in stock. No, more than that. If I count my potatoes, I have like 40 graphics cards in stock. So what am I doing because of this RAM thing? Well, I had lots of builds to do, to complete, and I'll do custom builds, but a lot of times I just build my own and then I sell them. So I'm starting to build AM4 again, only because of the cost, because it's just cheaper. It's running on DDR4 RAM. I'm starting to build more budget builds. In Canada, that would be in around the, anywhere from $1,000 to $1,500, and even below that. Like this one is below that. This one's $600 machine. $1,000 to $1,500, you're going to get a 3060 Ti or a 3070, in and around there. 1,000 and below, you're going to get a 16 or a 2060, and let's say 600 and below. Say, that's when you're getting the 1660 Ti and stuff like that. You might get a 2080, 2080 with if you're getting close to 1,000 or in and around $1,000. Things are so expensive. I mean, they were expensive before, but the last PC I sold was, well, he got a monitor too with it. It was over $6,000. 9800 X3D, 64 gig of RAM, 4090. What a great card that is. So that one was really expensive. Yeah. Anyway, normally I test RAM in in a command prompt window, or I'll boot to a mem test stick and test it in there. In this case, I just wanted to bring up Windows, and this is mem test that will run in Windows, and it only runs like why I have so many windows open is these are only 2 gig iterations that are running, so each one is 2048 megabytes or 2 gigabytes. So out of the 16 gig, I am testing 12 out of 16. This is a MaxMem2 program where you can test your RAM speed and your latency. So it's interesting. It's only 2666 megahertz RAM. It shows 2660, but that's because of the front side bus. CL15, 15, 17, 1736. I haven't tuned it that much. I've set 1T and 32,000 on the refresh rate. Okay, so what I did, I'll show you. It's just a Cooler Master tower cooler on it. Right now, it's an Asus Z370 motherboard, I believe. Yeah, so it's too bad. It's an overclockable chip, but the motherboard doesn't support overclocking, unfortunately. It's got a 512 gig NVMe, and right now just a 500 gig hard drive, although I'm probably going to increase the size of that to a terabyte, but $600, not much you can do. To build a system. That's what you're building. You're building, and it's a 9th gen, so it moves along pretty good. But I asked, getting back to the memory and everything else, I asked AI. Yeah, and you'll know that this is Windows 11 Pro regular. I'm starting to use Windows 11 Enterprise LTSC IoT, which has no AI, has nothing. It's basically has Edge and a few other programs, and then you just add whatever you want, which is great. It's a great way to do it. You use the Microsoft Store, and you download whatever modules you want to create your own custom Windows, which is awesome. I think it's great. I've got a couple of motherboards that and CPU combos that have it running on them right now. And these are just ones that I play with on the bench. I just wanted to see what it was like, and it's fast. It's very fast because it doesn't have all that overhead, so there's no AI. But I digress. Let's get back to this. So I asked AI on my iPad, and I'm going to read it from this iPad, so I don't have to grab that one that we're watching the video with. And the furnace is going to kick in, so I'll talk a little louder. So I asked AI how much have PC component sales slowed since the price increases. And its reply. While the PC market saw 9.1% growth in 2005 due to a Windows 11 upgrade cycle and preemptive buying before tariffs, recent price hikes are projected to cause a sharp downturn. The slowdown is characterized by the following trends. Market analysts expect a significant reversal in sales as component costs, especially for memory and storage, reach record highs. In a moderate scenario, they have a 4.9% decline in global PC shipments. A pessimistic scenario, a steeper 8.9 to 9% contraction if supply constraints persist, and I imagine they will because Mr. Altman bought up all the RAM. Regional impact. Specific markets like Canada, weird, anticipate a slight volume decline of 0.3% in 2026 for desktop PC specifically. I don't know where that's coming from because I'm in Canada, and yeah, there's going to be a huge slowdown here. I've been busy after Christmas, the busiest I've ever been, but I think it's because people are buying before they see more price increases. But anyway, That was number one. Number two, specific component sales slumps. The impact is most visible in individual DIY component sales rather than pre-built enterprise systems. Motherboards. Sales dropped by as much as 50% as enthusiasts balked at the high cost of compatible memory. GPU demand. High-end GPU demand softened by late 2025, leading to a stable or slightly lower average selling prices as manufacturers use promotion to move stock. Memory. Prices for some kits, most, that's my comment, have surged over 200%, causing sales of standalone modules to plummet to the point where some vendors have stopped selling standalone RAM altogether to ward off scalpers. Number three, shift in purchasing behavior. Rising costs have forced consumers and businesses to change how they buy. Yeah, no kidding. Future-proofing. Much of the 2025 growth was driven by businesses upgrading early to avoid 15 to 20% price hikes expected in 2026. Down mixing. It's a weird one. Manufacturers are increasingly offering leaner configurations with less RAM or storage to keep prices from becoming unobtainable, which they are pretty close to now. Stagnant upgrades. Many users are opting to keep perfectly serviceable machines rather than paying the AI tax on new hardware. These reports forecast a significant PC market decline in 2026, detailing how rising memory and storage costs are impacting sales and driving price increases. By the way, I don't edit any of my videos, so. And then AI asked me, are you looking for advice on when to buy specific parts? Or are you tracking these trends for a business investment or purpose? Which I didn't answer. But, okay. So here's my comment. I think the projection for 2026 PC and component sales are way off. I forecast a 35% decline in these sales for 2026. That was my comment. AI comes back and says a 35% decline would be historic, nearly triple the 11.9% drop seen during the 2009 global financial crisis, and more than double the 15% post-pandemic slump. While most analysts like IDC currently top out their while current analysts like IDC currently top out their pessimistic scenario at 9% decline, your much steeper forecast aligns with several emerging worst-case factors. So they didn't say I was wrong. If a 35% crash were to happen, it would likely be driven by these perfect storm conditions. Number one, the memory meltdown. Standard projections assume price hikes will level out, but if memory prices continue to double or triple, consumer interest may vanish entirely. DRAM prices are already expected to double by March of 2026. DIY abandonment. Major vendors like Framework have already stopped selling standalone RAM to fight scalpers, a sign that the enthusiast market could be the first to experience a total freeze. The industry is betting on AI PC wave to drive 2026 upgrades, but supply issues are already crippling this. I don't think there's going to be an AI PC wave. My personal opinion is that 95% of enthusiasts are giving AI the double middle finger, like go away. And AI is it really that good? So we're going to stop using our brains and have AI do everything for us? That's just simply ridiculous. The AI tax. Shortages of high bandwidth memory are forcing manufacturers to offer lean configurations with less RAM, effectively gutting the on device AI performance that was supposed to sell these new machines. Exactly, right? So now you don't have any RAM because you can't afford a RAM, because you can't afford the RAM, and AI just won't function really well with 8 gig of RAM. Value propositions. If users have to pay a 15 to 20% premium for a machine with less capability, they may simply extend their current replacement cycles indefinitely, which means a huge slowdown on people buying stuff, which affects everybody. It's going to what's going to happen when these data centers are built and NVIDIA supplies all their graphics cards for them, and then there's nobody to sell to because the consumer's not buying? What's going to happen to NVIDIA then? So, there's a snowball effect to this. The automakers, anything, phones, the whole 9 yards. It's going to snowball across all aspects of the tech industry and slow down everything. How, governments have competition laws in place that don't allow major corporations to merge with each other and create monopolies. I don't understand why the government allowed OpenAI and Sam Altman to buy all of the RAM manufacturing and leave nothing for anybody else. That has to stop. He can't do stuff like that. OpenAI can't do things like that. And I'm hoping that the government steps in. I'm hoping that there are lawsuits. I'm hoping that OpenAI goes bankrupt. I know that most of the people I know are rejecting AI. And I think the public is going to reject it. Not outright. I think in some cases it's pretty good. Like, this is interesting what it's telling me here. But I think in general and overall, we can use it for certain things. And it should be specific. They could certainly use it in the medical industry, where it's focused instead of being so broad. That I think we should have focused AI so it doesn't get out of control. But anyway, I'll continue with this. So we talked about the AI PC wave, which isn't going to happen. Value propositions. Corporate stagnation, number 3. While Windows 10 end of life was expected to force upgrades, businesses are reportedly moving 10 to 12 points slower than they did during the previous OS transitions. We all know why that is. A 35% drop would imply a complete halt of these enterprise refresh cycles due to budget constraints from rising hardware costs. And I think that's going to happen. So it's still commenting on my 35% projection of a drop in sales, etc. So it's still commenting on that, and I think that's realistic. Personally, I think that's realistic. Only because I'm in the business and I see it happening. I have friends who own computer stores, so they're doing a lot of repairs, not selling anything. I think Windows 11 would have been a great operating system if they would have left AI out. And if you had the choice, and it should have given you a choice, do you want to install AI or do you not? And you should have had that choice. And that's why I like Windows 11 Enterprise. I really like it because it offers you the choice. You can build your Windows as you see fit. Okay, GPU pricing spillover. So if memory prices double, well, they already have, haven't they? They've, like, I think, I used to pay, what, 140, 150 bucks for a 32 gig kit of RAM? And now it's like, what, 500 Canadian dollars for a 32 gig kit at DDR5? It's ridiculous. So if memory prices double, upcoming GPU launches could see their retail prices double as well, making game tier PCs economically unfeasible for most. And I think that we're already seeing that, right? There's just not going to be any GPUs available pretty soon. Let me just wake up my screen here. There we go. So it's asking me, what specific data point makes you think the 9% pessimistic forecasts are underestimating the crash so severely? Is it consumer sentiment or something you're seeing in the supply chain? Well, it's definitely consumer sentiment. Don't you think so? I think people are just, they're finally going to say no. But so I ask AI, so what do you think? Because the last one wasn't really a question, right? So I said, what do you think? It says, while historic, your 35% decline forecast reflects a growing sentiment among industry watchers that traditional analyst models are underestimating the RAM apocalypse. They call it Rampocolypse, but I guess it would be Rampocolypse. And I think the analysts are underestimating it because they're not out on the street. they're in a little office trading stocks, right? So I think they are definitely underestimating it. While IDC currently predicts a 9% drop in its worst case scenario, the current trajectory supports several of your more aggressive points. Yoo-hoo! The case for a 35% crash hinges on three factors currently breaking standard economic models. The death of the budget PC. That's number one. What is a budget PC anymore? Like I was saying earlier, it's going to be well over $1,000 for a budget PC. Well over $1,000. A 35% drop would likely be led by the total evaporation of the entry-level market. Gone. Cost versus utility. Entry-level memory prices have surged over 200% since late 2025, with standard 16 gig kits now costing as much as entire mid-range CPUs. The budget gaming PC has effectively vanished already. Manufacturer retreat. Major players like Micron, buy Micron, and when you come back, we're not interested. Micron, crucial, have exited the consumer market entirely to focus on high-margin AI data centers. AI is going to crash. These data centers, I don't know. I think they might build a few of them and then they're just going to stop because the market is not going to be there. Which could lead to a permanent structural decline in unit volume. Supply crowding out is number two. Unlike past cycles, this shortage isn't just about demand. It's about a physical shift in production. The 70% shift. Data centers are projected to consume 70% of all memory chips produced in 2026. 70%. And yes. Silicon prioritization. Because AI chips, HBM, use 3 times more silicon than standard DDR5, every wafer dedicated to AI removes several consumer-grade RAM sticks from the market. This supply sidewall could prevent sales from happening regardless of consumer interests. So basically, yeah, I mean, the whole industry has given us, the consumer, when the double middle finger. And we built these companies. We built them on our backs, on our purchases. And they basically told us to, F you. We're going where the money is and the data centers, and F you consumers. Well, yeah, what goes around comes around. And that's what's going to happen. Micron, Samsung, SK Hynix, what goes around comes around. So we'll have our day. Enterprise life extension projects. Corporate refresh cycles, usually the market's backbone, are stalling. Right now they're stalling. And they're going to stall big time in 2026. So this is what I'm talking about, the snowball effect. It's going to go across so many industries with upgrades, etc., etc. Dell reports that Windows 11 transition is 10 to 12 points behind previous OS cycles. Long-term sweating. IT teams are pivoting to life extension projects rather than buying new hardware at 15 to 20% markups. If large firms skip the 2026 cycle entirely, your 35% figure, mine, becomes mathematically plausible. They will skip, and it is plausible. And I think, what are we at? 26 minutes. Historical context. For your forecast to hit, 2026 would have to be twice as bad as the 17.3% decline seen during the 2022 inventory crisis. Okay, I don't remember that. Do you think the primary driver, this is AI asking me, do you think the primary driver of this 35% drop will be consumer refusing to pay, AI inflated prices, or manufacturers physically unable to produce enough units? And I personally believe that consumers are going to refuse to pay. That's where I'm at. But it doesn't really matter, right? Because they're all going to be sold to these data centers. So I ask AI, do you think high RAM prices have the potential to crash economies? It's a pretty hard ask. And it answers, it is unlikely that high RAM prices alone could crash the entire global economies. But they are a significant contributing factor to a broader tech slowdown that could trigger a moderate recession. So Sam Altman, you could trigger, and AI, OpenAI, you guys can trigger a moderate recession, or worse. Semiconductors, including memory chips, are now considered as essential to the global digital economy as traditional infrastructure like roads and power grids. The current memory price crisis, driven by the AI boom, consuming massive amounts of high bandwidth memory, HBM memory, creates economic pressure in two ways. Number one, direct economic contraction. High component costs dampen demand and force manufacturers to make difficult choices, leading to a market contraction. And that's corporations making the choice to not do any upgrades this year or in 2026. Consumer electronics slump, definitely going to happen. Market analysts expect the PC market to shrink by up to 9% in 2026. I say 35, forget 9, that's way too low. And the smartphone market by over 5%. Yeah, people love their phones, I guess. This is due to price hikes of 8% or more for finished devices. The price hikes are going to be way higher than that, which cause consumers to delay purchases or keep old hardware for longer. That's right, we're going to be keeping old hardware. Just like during the war years, the Second World War, where our grandparents, or my grandparents, because I'm already 65 actually, our my grandparents hoarded money. They had money in the, and they weren't buying. They were keeping as much money as they could because they didn't know what was going to happen. So I think the same thing's going to happen, or similar, where consumers are just going to, you know what, I'm not going to buy that tech stuff. I'm not going to buy that TV. I'm not going to buy that. Consumers are going to sit back and wait until they absolutely have to buy something and they have to replace something. They're just gonna sit back and wait. Why can't I see my screen? That's weird. Okay. I'm just gonna pull this up here. We're at 30 minutes, but I can't see my screen. Why can't I see my screen? That's weird. All right. Well, hopefully this is still recording. All right. Corporate spending cuts. Businesses are reacting to the 50 to 20% list price increases for new systems by slowing the refresh cycles. The focus on high margin AI hardware is pushing smaller vendors out of the consumer market. True. Small computer stores are just saying, that's enough. I'm done. I'm just going to continue on here while... oh yeah, so I asked the question, should governments halt or curb the sale of RAM to one person or company? And it says, while governments generally avoid direct sales caps on individual consumers, they are increasingly using export controls, antitrust legislation, and tariffs to intervene in a market where AI companies are hoarding the world's memory supply. The current debate centers on three types of intervention. Stopping corporate hoarding. Recent moves suggest that regulators are shifting from monitoring prices to investigating supply manipulation. Well, that's good. Targeting predatory bidding. Consumer groups are currently preparing class action lawsuits against AI giants like OpenAI, alleging that massive bulk purchases of DRAM constitute resource hoarding designed to starve competitors and consumers. Interesting. Algorithmic price probes. Difficult to say. Regulators in the EU, Germany, and the Netherlands have launched investigations into whether AI-driven price tools are causing artificial price hikes across the memory market. Okay, so there's all kinds of other stuff, but I'm going to end it here because I think I've said my piece on all this stuff. And yeah, so I'm Jim from Tech Lovin'. Thanks for joining me. And that's my 2 cents that I'm throwing in there on this, where we're at. Anyway, yeah, I'm not monetized. Nobody sponsors me. I just do videos on YouTube because I want to. Tech videos. Am I biased? Absolutely I'm biased towards certain things. Shouldn't I be? Yeah, why not? So we're all biased in one way or another. So, but I don't really push anything, and if I do push a product, it's because I really like it. Montech cases, there's one. I'm going to push them because I think they're very, very good cases, and I'm impressed by them, and their price is very good. Western Digital Black, NVMEs, love them. Think they're great. Some stuff I don't like. One, Samsung, sorry, don't like your products. Overpriced, not paying for them. Power supplies, Antec, Seasonic, can't beat Seasonic. Antec power supplies. Happy with those. Graphics cards, I'll go either way, but NVIDIA's just has more support out there than AMD does. But AMD cards are good. What else? I bought some Chinese SSDs, just small ones to put in my tiny PCs. And I was really impressed by them. I scored 10 out of 10. I had no issues with the ones I bought. So that was all right. Yeah, what else? I don't know. I buy a lot from Amazon. I buy a lot from Newegg. Um, Memory Express. I buy a lot from from AliExpress, and their shipping is fantastic. If you order enough stuff, like enough in your order, you get it pretty quick. And it's not. I've never come across stuff that where I look and go, "Oh, geez, that didn't look like the picture. It's kind of crappy." It's all pretty good stuff, and they have the oddest stuff in the world that you can buy there. Like I think I've mentioned it before, like a Corsair fan to 5 volt ARGB. I mean, where you don't have to use a controller, so you can put one Corsair fan in a system at the back as your discharge, your exhaust fan, and it could be a Corsair ARGB fan, and you can actually plug it into a 5 volt ARGB header. So that's pretty cool. Let me just start this again. Yeah, so AliExpress has some a lot of decent stuff. There's certain things I don't buy from AliExpress because I'm a little leery of it. But all the small stuff, like what else? I have some stuff here. Like here's an ARGB controller, which is so cool because if you don't have ARGB in your motherboard, you can actually running it off the SATA power and control your RGB. So it's pretty awesome stuff. What are we at here? We're at 36 minutes. Yeah. So far I have no errors. I'm at 115%, 122% coverage. I'm going to continue and let this run. And if we're all good, we're all good. But thank you for joining me. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. And it's not shutting off. Why? Oh, no. It should. There we go. Low battery. Close.